Thursday, May 14th, 2026 meeting of the Lewis and Clark County Commission. Will you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. I'm going to take a minute and introduce the folks on this end of the room. I'm going to start over here on the far left is Jenny Chambers. She's the Director of Public Works and Planning. And next to her is Brandy Grandy, who is our recording secretary, keep track of all of our proceedings and then gets the audio version up on our website. So if you have something you want to hear again and hear a little bit more of, you can pick that up in a few days. I'm Tom Rolfe. I'm chair of the commission this year. Commissioner Andy Hunthausen is not with us today, and Commissioner Candace Payne is to my right. And then there's Nico Hash and TJ Murphy are here from the county attorney's office to try and keep us headed in a legal manner. And then Roger Baltz is our Chief Administrative Officer. There is a sign-in sheet just on the other side of the bar. We'd ask that you fill that out and leave contact information for us should we need to get back to you with any other information or contact you about any of the comments made. There's also a copy of our agenda there for everyone. Looks like this morning we don't have any consent action items, so we're going to move right into action items. The first is a professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and MadAve Communications.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioner. My name is Kellie McBride, and I'm the Director of your Department of Criminal Justice Services. I will add that in the audience with me, I have Allie Mandel with MadAve Communications, and also Lindsay from our office, who does all of our social media and works closely with Allie Mandel. So Lewis and Clark County's Department of Criminal Justice Services is requesting approval of a professional services contract with MadAve Communications to provide communications, public relations, and strategic engagement support. Following a limited solicitation, MadAve Communications was selected based on their experience, demonstrated understanding of our work, and their ability to communicate complex justice system topics in a clear and accessible way. This contract will support the expansion and refinement of our communication efforts with a focus on increasing public awareness and understanding of voter-mandated programs and initiatives developed under the direction of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council with input from the Citizens Advisory Committee. The contract is for a 3-year term, beginning upon approval of the contract in an amount not to exceed $24,000 annually, subject to budget approval. The CJS request approval of the professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and MadAve Communications for continued communications, public relations, and strategic engagement support. And I'm available for questions.
All right, thank you. Yeah, are there any questions about that presentation?
I have a question.
Commissioner Payne.
Thank you. Kellie?
Yes.
In your discussion just now, you mentioned that this was a limited solicitation. Can you explain why it's a limited solicitation?
Yes, so that is based on the amount. Anything over $80,000, I'm going to look over here and make sure I'm correct, but anything over $80,000, we need to do a full request for proposal process. Anything less than $80,000, the county asks that we do a limited solicitation. I did that. I worked with Casey Hayes, excuse me, our procurement officer, and made sure everything was done correctly. We sent that limited solicitation out to, I believe, 6 firms in the community. MadAve's was the most responsive.
Thank you. When I see limited solicitation, I think, so you only contacted your friend Ellie and said, hey, you need to get in, but that's not. the
That
way
is not
limited.
what happened.
And that's,
Correct.
I wanted to make sure that was clear in my mind so that we're not, messing about in muddy water. So
Absolutely.
this is such important work. So thank you. I don't have any other questions.
All right. If there's no further questions from the commission, is there any public comment on this matter? Any public comment on this particular item? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and MadAve Communications LLC as presented by Kellie McBride.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion on this item? Being none, we can move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and MadAve Communications LLC, as explained by Kellie McBride, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 2-0. Next item on the agenda is a grant award to Lewis and Clark Public Health from the Montana Department of Environmental Quality.
Thank you, Chair Rolfe. Get my stuff in order here. Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, my name is Fred Sargison. I'm the Operations Manager at Lewis and Clark Public Health. Today, the Commissioners will consider accepting the renewal grant award from our longstanding Lewis and Clark County Air Pollution Control Program between Montana Department of Environmental Quality and Lewis and Clark Public Health. These funds total $42,454 for the period between July 1st, 2026 and June 30th, 2028. This grant helps us support the following activities. We maintain and operate a continuous air monitoring system at Rossiter School out in the valley. This collects hourly particulate information. Fine particulate air pollution, also known as PM 2.5, is the very small particulates and gases that can enter our lungs and cause irritation like coughing. People with pre-existing illnesses such as asthma, COPD, and heart problems can experience a worsening of their symptoms as the particulate levels increase in our area. These PM 2.5 concentrations are measured at the Rossiter Elementary School and reported to the Montana Department of Environmental Quality, as well as the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The information is used to provide health assessments for 24-hour periods and are also published on the DEQ website called Today's Air. And citizens can monitor hourly PM 2.5 concentrations on the Lewis and Clark Public Health data portal available on our website. The Health Department also enforces and administers the Lewis and Clark County Clean Air Ordinance, which is intended to reduce the particulate population during the winter months when inversions can trap smoke in our valley. This ordinance was put into place back in the late 1990s, and part of the information that helped spark the adoption of the ordinance was a study conducted by the University of Montana, my alma mater, that indicated about 60% of our winter particulate pollution originated from our residential wood smoke. We also use air quality information we collect to assess public health risk in wildfire smoke during the summer. During the summer season, we issue alerts and provide education to residents, schools, and daycares with recommendations for outdoor activities based on air quality conditions. We also send out daily emails to interested persons during poor winter air quality episodes and summer wildfire events so residents in our area can make informed decisions to protect their health. Staff recommends approval.
Just a question. Most of the time that I hear this coming up is, like mentioned, the winter months when people are using open fires to keep their homes warm, and when we've got fires in the area where we might have a lot of smoke blowing in from forest fires around us. Are there other times when things show up that cause of concern?
I don't really know. I think it sort of has that seasonality, but periodically we do run into situations where there might be one of the federal agencies or somebody burning slash piles, that's always working with the meteorologist to try to reduce the overall smoke in the valley. The role we often play in that case is we like to have good communication, so we're aware that that's going to happen, so we can at least do education to folks. My mom was one of those that had COPD and emphysema, and so those smoke events in the valley can be very impactful to families. And so that's any time during the year where there is some sort of an event like that, we'll try to put out some education stuff. 4th of July is another one where you'll see a high particulate in the valley. You can look at that monitor on our website and sort of see it. So one of the important things is just making sure, especially that sensitive populations are aware that because you can't always see PM 2.5. So if we can sort of notify people that it's out there, we can help to protect public health.
All right. Any other questions from the commission?
No, I believe this is pretty straightforward.
All right. Is there any public comment on this item? Is there any public comment on this item? If you have a comment, we would ask that you come forward and give us your name.
My name is Doug Peterson. I live at 840 Raptor Road. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. People, from before I was born, if there's forest fires, you take precautions, that there's forest fires. I don't know that we need to spend a lot of money to tell somebody that there's smoke in the air. It seems a little redundant. Thank you. Sorry.
Is there any further public comment? Is there any further public comment? Any response to that or?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I appreciate the comment. That is sort of one of the things. You can't always see smoke. You can't always tell what the PM 2.5 particulate level is in the air. And so the education is a piece of it, but it's a part of a larger piece of it as well, where that data can sometimes go, where the county sheriff, as the fire marshal into this, can reduce the ability for people to burn in the summer. So that particulate level, if it's low and below that, so it doesn't rise above that level, to make sure that we don't get to the point where it's a days-long inversion in our valley. And so there's reasons behind it, but I appreciate the comment.
Okay. See no more public comment. Do we have a motion?
Before we do, I'd like to clarify this issue. Are there particulate matter that is not related to wood smoke that would show up in this monitoring?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, we get into the science of it. I think there is, yes, that if there's from road dust, there's factory burning, there's I wouldn't give you a full complete answer because I'm not one of the scientists that works on this, but yes, there is.
There are, other than the smoke that we all see and dread, but my dad had COPD and all kinds of those problems too, and I know his ailments would be aggravated, and it wasn't necessarily the wood smoke that was the problem.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
All right. And this is we're accepting a grant from the state to do this. So it's, if I understand it correctly, it's not affecting our local taxes.
Commissioner Ralph, that is correct. This is partial federal funding and state funding coming as a grant in a longstanding relationship with public health.
All right. All right. If there's no further public comment. Yes.
So,
Okay.
I'm not public, but I do want to make a comment.
Okay.
So don't push me into the motion yet.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to comment that although this does not come directly from our local property taxes, every dime we get from a grant from the U.S. government it comes out of the same pocket, this pocket right here. And it's something that we take seriously. And that's why we have you do a presentation as to why this is an important thing to do. It impacts people who don't have any other way of getting this information. As an example, my dad, your mom, elderly people who are not they don't have the ability to have scientific evidence, and I think there are things in the air. For example, car emissions. I mean, that's something we see every winter. It has nothing to do with well, I'm sure it has something to do with the wood fire. But anyway, so there's a reason we get this out and talk about it, to find out, okay, we've got to weigh the benefits and the burdens, and the presentation, the information you give us, the information the public brings forward is part of, that's how we make this decision. It's not just done, well, today's Thursday, I think we should do this. There's more to it. So that's the end of my comment.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the grant award to Lewis and Clark Public Health from the Montana Department of Environmental Quality as presented by Fred Sargison.
Second. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion?
That's why I should have said that.
All right. There being no more discussion, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the grant award to Lewis and Clark Public Health from the Montana Department of Environmental Quality, as explained by Fred Sargison, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 2-0. Next item on our agenda is a grant task order between Lewis and Clark Public Health and the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, again, my name is Fred Sargison. I'm the operations manager at Lewis and Clark Public Health. Today, I have before you a grant award from the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services from the Strengthening Public Health Workforce Grant in the amount of $100,000 for sustaining vital public health workforce. The grant period is July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027. This is a continuation of funding that we currently receive. This funding pays for salary and benefits to employ our epidemiologist. Our epidemiologist helps our department evaluate the work we do and measure the potential impact. This position ensures that data guides our work and helps us set priorities, which is a public health best practice. A few successes from this past year, fiscal year 2025 and 26. She participated in our measles response updated data dashboard to include current interactive communicable disease and air quality data, and wrote and launched the new customer satisfaction plan, which is part of our strategic plan to revamp and dive deeper into our customer satisfaction evaluation with each of our programs. Staff recommends approval. Sorry, I almost forgot the most important part.
Are there any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission on this item? Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment on action item 3C? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the grant task order between Lewis and Clark Public Health and Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services as presented by Mr. Sargison.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion? There being none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the grant task order between Lewis and Clark Public Health and the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, as explained by Fred Sargison, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 2-0.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item we have on our agenda is resolution 2026-34 to create the O'Reilly Drive Rural Improvement District, number 2026-2.
Good morning, Chair Rolfe, Commissioner Payne. My name is Jessica Makis, Special Districts Program Coordinator for Lewis and Clark County. Today is the public hearing regarding Resolution 2026-34 to create the O'Reilly Rural Improvement District to improve and maintain O'Reilly Drive. The proposed district is located north of Prairie Road between North Montana Avenue and Applegate Drive. You can see the specific proposed RID before you, but if you'd like I have the map up too if we need to see that further location, if that would help. The resolution of intention to create O'Reilly Drive RID was passed by the Commission on March 26, 2026, after receiving a petition signed by 37% of the proposed benefiting property owners within the proposed district. There are 49 properties included in the proposed district boundary. Improvements to be funded by the district include subgrade preparation, drainage ditch improvement, the addition of approximately 2,080 cubic yards of gravel material, and the application of magnesium chloride on the full extent of O'Reilly Drive. The full cost of improvements is estimated to total $152,682.23, and each benefiting property would be proposed to be assessed a 15-year debt service assessment of $320.83 per year until the loan was repaid. The actual debt assessment would reflect the final construction amount and would begin once the loan is drawn down. The general character of maintenance would include snow plowing, grading, gravel and drainage maintenance, signage, magnesium chloride application, and other items as needed to preserve the road improvements. Annual maintenance is estimated to total $14,210, and each benefiting property owner would be proposed to be levied a maintenance assessment of $290 per year. The total proposed assessment is $610.83 per property per year for the first 15 years, and then dropping to the maintenance assessment only. Upon passage of the resolution of intention to create the district on March 26th, notice of the intention to create the district in today's public hearing was mailed to each benefiting property owner, and a 30-day comment and protest period was open to the public. Legal notice was also published in the Helena Independent Record on April 4th and April 11th, 2026. The comment and protest period closed on May 6th. A total of 44.8% of benefiting property owners protested the creation of the district. Of these 44.8%, 5 of those that protested also signed the petition for support. Those protests have been included for your review in the packet that you have. Statute states that a district cannot be created if greater than 50% of protest is received. Therefore, there is not sufficient protest to bar proceedings today. If the O'Reilly Drive RID is created, it is anticipated that a resolution to levy and assess the maintenance component of the RID will be brought before the Commission this summer and be placed on the 2026 tax bill, with the first half due in November 2026. A loan application to the Montana Board of Investments to fund an intercap loan for the initial improvements would also be presented to the Commission. The assessment to repay that loan would begin once the loan is drawn down and the final construction cost is known, likely for the 2027 tax bill. Thank you, and I'm here to take any questions that you have.
Are there any questions from the Commission? Any questions from the Commission?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
Because our friend Andy Hunthausen isn't here, and this is the question that he always brings up is, and you've heard him say this, Jessica, so could you talk to us? There are the everybody roads that the county takes care of. There's a right south of this down where at the corner of Montana, and I can't remember what the road is, right there by the firehouse. Thank you, Valley, and that one is, boy, it's plowed and maintained. So, and I think that's an everybody road. So, versus and Andy calls it a my road, but I think of it as a limited use road. So could you explain to us how those are differentiated since Andy's not here?
Absolutely. Chair Rolfe, Commissioner Payne, the county road division within Public Works has a certain amount of money, they have a certain amount of revenue, and they are able to put those resources towards the roads that the most people use. So as you refer to it, or as Commissioner Hunthausen often refers to it, as those everybody roads. In this area, we're talking about North Montana Avenue. We're talking about Prairie going east-west here. Those are maintained by the county. Those have a lot of use within the county. The county has tried to implement a road prioritization plan. And what that has done is take every road that's in our county and applied the same objective criteria to it, such as average vehicle trips per day, your speed, whether it's a sole access road, whether it's a bus route, all of these variables, and have objectively determined a road score for all of our public roads within the county. And what the county does then is uses that data to focus the resources, which are limited, on the roads used by the most people. In this case, O'Reilly Drive that we're discussing today is a public road. It is not maintained by the county. As we've determined, as you look at the boundary that's been proposed for this particular RID, when we have roads going east, west, and north, it's difficult for the county to determine who exactly would benefit from this road, who is using this road today based on its current layout. With this particular district, we did hire a third-party traffic engineer to perform a traffic analysis for us to determine primarily who east of O'Reilly on Erickson and Terrence is using O'Reilly as it stands today. And so that's how that particular boundary was drawn. So all that to say that, with this particular boundary, there are 49 identified benefiting properties within this district. We can see how the county would not be able to invest county resources on O'Reilly Road to serve 49 benefiting properties. The county has to focus on those main corridors that are serving a lot of people. And that's just the reality of our funding, if that helps.
It's kind of like, do I spend money on groceries or a trip to France? So you got to balance things out. You may need that trip to France, but well, anyway, so you spend the money where you can do the most good for the most people.
The other part of the discussion that I think is important is how often does the county take a look at the prioritization and take into consideration changes that might have happened over the previous year or so?
Chair Ralph, that's a great question. The county, through the Public Works Department, divides those roads and works with an independent traffic engineer to do traffic counts on all of those roads periodically on a 2 to 3 year basis to make sure that we have those updated counts and we can see how traffic is moving, especially as we experience periods of high population growth and other factors that affect those roadways.
Another question, if I might, is O'Reilly Road is technically a county road. Is that correct or not?
Chair Ralph, it is not a county road. O'Reilly is a public road. However, it is not a road that's been petitioned to be a county road in the past.
All right. Now, last time I checked, we had around 1,500 miles of county roads in the county, and but we only have the funds to maintain 575 or so miles of roads. Is that still pretty close?
Chair Ralph, that's correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the commission? All right.
No.
It would seem to me that it's pretty clear that this is not a road that the county is going to be working on under the current conditions. Is that right?
Chair Ralph, that's correct.
All right. So it's up to the local landowners to decide whether they want to improve that road.
Chair Ralph, that's correct. And recognizing, the county recognizes, right, that they cannot provide the services on all roads as maybe would be desired. So what Lewis and Clark County does, what a lot of our larger counties do, is to provide a rural improvement district program, so that there are staff available to assist people to create rural improvement districts where they're desired. Other options, if you don't wish to have a county administered rural improvement district, an HOA is a good example of a private option to do that. Other communities, our neighborhoods, have a group of a road committee, let's say, that will collect money to have roads graded and to do that work on their own as well. So there are other options besides the RID. The RID is what the county can offer on those roads that the county road department cannot maintain.
And about how many of those local RIDs where the local taxpayers pay for the maintenance of a road in their neighborhood, about how many of those do we have around the county?
Chair Ralph, we have 149 road districts right now.
Okay, all right. Are there any other questions from the commission?
No.
We need to move to the point of public comment. So anyone who would like to make a public comment, we ask that you come forward, and when you get to the microphone, if you will make sure the microphone's turned on, there's a little button there that has to be green, and then if you state your name and go ahead and make the comment.
Hi, I'm Rachel Christian Smith. I live on Erickson. That's the second road off of O'Reilly, it looks like. My question is, who's going to be doing these improvements? Is it the county, or who's going to be doing it? And also, did they get other quotes on the price? And then also another question, because Erickson is so close to Prairie, and we also have a throughput all the way to North Montana, so we don't have to use O'Reilly. Is there any way to lower the price for the roads that are closer to Prairie or that have the throughput, like Terrence and Erickson?
Okay. Some questions that we can try to answer. I'm going to go through public comments first, and then we'll have staff try to answer your questions. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Takaro, and I am one of the homeowners on O'Reilly Drive. I just ask that this is reconsidered, hopefully denied, but at least reconsidered, just because I went around and talked to several neighbors. Sorry, I'm a little nervous up here, but which at least 10 of them that were against this and that did not see a petition to sign it. We never seen one ourselves. One of the neighbors said she had been approached by a neighbor that was asking for this, and she had no idea what the details were of it. So she signed it, not knowing that all the details of our taxes going up and whatnot. And if not reconsidered, at least reconsidering the boundary lines, like the last one was saying. It only goes about 2 houses in, and I think that it's not fair the way that the taxes are being split up, just because there's several houses down those roads that go to Montana Avenue that aren't affected, but they will be using O'Reilly, and none of those other roads are being improved. So I just ask that it's reconsidered.
Could you give me your name again? I'm sorry.
Vanessa Takaro.
Okay. Other public comment.
Morning, Commissioner and Chairman. My name is Roger Johnson. I live 835 Magnum Road. I've lived there for approximately 27 years. When the petition did come around, I did initially sign in support of that. I looked at the cost for us. Obviously, we live farther up the road, so we're going to be one of the main beneficiaries because we travel the furthest distance up the road. I did not meet the protest deadline of May 6th. It was after that then I really started to sit down, my wife and I, and looked at the cost. But the other real big factor for me on now why I oppose this is we have neighbors surrounding our property to the north and to the south that they have undeveloped vacant lots on their property. They years ago bought those properties to keep spaces open, to keep overcrowding, and we benefit greatly from that. We have open fields off to our southeast. We have 10 acres of open property to the north. We've had building in the area next door and other places who have blocked views, and that's one of the things we moved there for. So yeah, and then that's their right to do that. I moved out there for the same reason, to get out of the city, to be in open areas like that. Well, we had neighbors who were thoughtful enough that they did buy those properties to undevelop them to keep the spaces open. Now, like to the north, my understanding is they're going to get billed 3 times for 3 separate properties. So I'm paying roughly $50 or $60 a month, where they're going to be paying $150 to $200. Our neighbors to the south, same thing. Their tax bill's doubling. But yet they're paying 3 times the amount that I am. And I just feel like it's kind of selfish on my behalf to vote in favor for it, and then they end up carrying a larger burden. The other issue I have too is further development, is people subdividing their lots they already have and creating even more traffic up there. There are residences on Erickson's who are already in violation of the zoning ordinance up there. They have multiple families living on a single lot. They live in campers alongside the house at 985 Erickson Road. They do use that road, but they're not going to be built for that. There's 3 sets of families living there. And they come down Erickson and they come down O'Reilly. I've seen them driving O'Reilly. And my understanding is those lots are supposed to be single family dwellings. They're not supposed to be multifamily. They're not designated for that area. The other concern I have is commercial. If I decide on half of my property is vacant, but it's still billed as 1. If I decide I want to do a business where I'm going to start renting it for RV storage, trailer storage, boat storage, then that traffic starts coming up and down the road. My understanding is that's not residential only, no commercial, so I can't be opening a business on that road if that correct. And I know we can get to the public comment later. The other thing, and I do appreciate the transparency, but my biggest fear was, and I've heard this from other RIDs, that they pay for it and the services aren't provided. And excuse me, but in listening this morning, basically you're admitting the fact that the bills will be, we're going to be billed, but services most likely are not going to be provided. Because I know very well that's a low priority road. It's a dead end road. And there's 40 some populations on there. And I know in the county, when a snowstorm comes or something like that, we're not going to be a priority. I also know that the gravel and maintenance is expensive too, and there is a slope to it and there is erosion on there. So what is done, probably going to have to be, once you start turning that soil up, and I'm no road maintenance expert, but I've watched through the years as it's worn, and it does create gullies and it does create washout. But like I said, biggest thing, my objection is I appreciate the folks who've lived there the longest. And like I said, they did us great benefit in buying those open properties and maintaining them open. And I just don't think it's fair, selfish on my behalf to sign up and put that cost onto them when I'm that. So, all right, appreciate it.
Is there other public comment?
I'm John Geyer. I live at 880 Terrence Road. One of the concerns I have is if this were to go through, how often is the road going to be maintained? In other words, how long is it going to be graded? If you look at Prairie Road, that probably gets done 3 times a year in the summer. The problem with that is that since apparently nobody can understand speed limit signs, within 2 or 3 weeks, it's full of potholes again. And that's going to be it is the same way on Terrence Road right now, or O'Reilly. So that's my biggest concern. And if it is done, is there going to be a speed limit on it? Because I've seen guys pulling trailers up and down O'Reilly where you could see air underneath the trailer tires. And that's my biggest concern, though not to even mention the dust that it creates. And if they don't maintain that road the right way by digging out all the potholes and compacting it afterwards, it's not going to change a thing. That's all I have. Thank you.
Is there other public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you for your time. Bruce Ryerson, and I live at 840 Erickson Road, and I've lived there 25 years. And we've spent our own money along with some of our other neighbors to get a grader to come out and grade the road. Commissioner Payne, you mentioned, where does it come from? Pocketbook. Well, what about suspension? Geez, Louise, I mean, the potholes are terrible. All right, that environmental, let's talk environmental. Dust was already mentioned. Someone mentioned empty trailers bouncing up and down because of no speed limit. So there's safety. The bus stops right at O'Reilly and Prairie Road, and kids get off right there and they walk up O'Reilly Road. Drivers coming down O'Reilly Road may be paying attention to the potholes they have to dodge and not paying attention to the school children walking up the road. So speed limits was mentioned as well. So, maintenance. And I don't think speed limits are part of this discussion. It's just grading and maintaining the road, which was why I'm here. And I think it should be done. So I'm for it. I think it'll help the environment. I think for safety reasons, it will help safety reasons, especially if speed limit signs are put up. Not that that's going to slow down the people that are pulling empty trailers at 50 miles an hour. But my last comment would be proration of the cost. I don't know why I've got to pay the same amount for somebody that has just built a house way up on O'Reilly Road and has one of them empty trailers bouncing down at 50 miles an hour. I think it ought to be prorated. I think that was kind of mentioned too. So I don't know that that can even be part of the formula because actually I'd just like to get it graded and maintained. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other public comment?
Hello, my name's Jeff Luscraft. I live at 910 Erickson Road, and just have a couple comments regarding it. Number one, the cost, because I live towards the lower end of it also. I guess I just have a little bit of angst over paying for, the full cost of doing O'Reilly, especially with all the development that's happened all the way towards the north. I live right at the junction of O'Reilly and Erickson, and as someone already said, there is someone running a commercial equestrian center way towards the north end of O'Reilly, and I am seeing more and more horse trailers running up and down that road. And to me, that is attributing to the pothole problem and the deterioration of that road, more so than just normal pedestrian or normal car traffic. And I think, somebody's running a commercial enterprise, they should be paying a greater share of keeping that road up. The other question is they only included two neighbors to the west side on Erickson, or all those, conjunctive roads that come in. I live on the west side of Erickson. I know there are people all the way up and down Erickson that are using this road that are not included within the identified population. And I think they should be. I think it should have been carried further down. Thank you for your time. My name is Jeff Salisbury. I live at 820 Raptor Road. First of all, I'd like to say I appreciate the county staff. I had many questions, and the county staff was not only courteous, but very informative. Straight across, there was no, it was just factual conversations, and I got all of the information that I needed from county staff. I have 18 years of experience with dirt street and alley maintenance as the supervisor for the city of Helena. So I know dirt. I know that if dirt roads or gravel roads are unmaintained, that they destroy themselves just by the natural forces of nature, rain, snow melt, etc. I was quite in favor of the proposal for creating an RID, primarily because all of the people would be involved with O'Reilly would be required to pay some share, an even share, for the maintenance and reconstruction of the road. After receiving the cost estimate from the county, boy, I was kind of taken aback because it seemed excessive to me. And I did research, pardon me, I did research on the square footage, square yardage of the road, the gravel that would be put on it, the extent of the operation to maintain it, to rebuild it. And I found numerous things that I have problems with. Number one, the county engineer had specified 6 inches of 3/4 inch gravel. My experience with dirt is that is way too fine. Gravel, the smaller it is, the faster it leaves the surface. Our road base is primarily clay and pit run. Some rock in it, quite a bit of clay in it. What we need is something that would amend that to make it more drivable and have a longer maintenance cycle. That would be 1.5 inch road mix from somewhere in the East Valley that has a higher sand content, not silt. 6 inches is way too much. I would recommend 2 inches. The first year grader rolled into the base, wet, packed, crowned, and set up. And then another year later, another 2 inches put in there. Cost savings would be probably 50% of the materials cost of that. Much of the rest of it, one of the things that surprised me when I delved into this was that none of the east-west roads are slated for improvement. That it's just O'Reilly Drive. And that, although that is the apparent truth, those people paying on that east-west should have some maintenance done on theirs. The Erickson to the east of O'Reilly is an absolute minefield. Terrence was taken care of by their residents about 3/4 of the way to the east about 10 years ago. And that has held up relatively well, primarily because it was crowned and some material was put on it and the traffic is low. Right now, dust control was part of the proposal, and I agree with that. Should probably end the dust control because we have primarily westerly flowing winds. The primary area would be up through Erickson past Los Groffs. Because after that, the traffic diminishes and the need for dust control would diminish. So that cost could be lowered. Plowing and sanding, we probably would need plowing once or twice a year. we get some drifting that could be done on an on-call basis. That cost is too high. The maintenance cycle, someone addressed that, what the maintenance cycle would be. The maintenance cycle should be twice a year. What we did in the city was at the end of the rainy season, the end of June, would maintain it, wet it down, pack it, and then just before freeze in late October, November, grade it again, wet it down, pack it. That tended to keep the road surface intact and usable through the course of the winter and the rest of the summer. Traffic control, whoever has the answer to that is going to be a millionaire. It would rely on the good feelings of our neighbors as far as how fast it goes. I will admit I've driven down that road fast when I was late or needed to save some time, but I certainly couldn't do that now. It is a slalom course. It is dangerous to the pedestrians that do walk there. It's dangerous to the traffic. We're lucky that we just don't have a lot more traffic that would keep it. The road width was slated by the engineering standards to be a 24-foot width. It could be less. That could save money. I talked with two grading contractors, and it's all doable for much less than the cost that is proposed. I like the idea that everybody pays. There isn't a real good mechanism that the county has. If we, and this was something that was brought up, as I understand it, there would be a committee of homeowners, property owners, that would control and direct the maintenance and the build. If that is the case, and we were able to do this road improvement and maintenance for much less money, what happens to the money for 15 years collection? Is that rebated or does that go? I found the cost going to hit my pocketbook pretty severe. Well, not severely, but it'll make a difference. The mechanism is kind of fuzzy on that, and I'm not sure. If it passes and we do things for less, what does the county allow an RID to do to rebate that money back to the property owners? I'm afraid that if it goes down, the RID were to fail, that there would be very little chance of getting that 100% participation again. Once again, it was a good effort. The need is there. The design and the cost estimates are excessive. Thank you.
Are there other public comments?
Hi, I'm Wes Kircher. I live at 885 Erickson Road.
Your name again?
Wes Kircher.
Okay.
And when they first did the letter interest, the letter actually said $300 a month. And now we got the thing that said it was $600 a month. And that was concerning to me. And Erickson, I don't think anyone uses Erickson. They all come to Riley. So I think that's it.
Are you for it or
I am against it.
Okay.
We had a property tax lowering, then this is going to negate the lower taxes that we're paying now. So, and there is a speed limit sign when you first go in O'Reilly. It says 25, but people are going 50 miles an hour up there. If there wasn't for the potholes, they'd be going 60, 70. So it's built-in speed bump. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. Candace Peterson. I'm at 840 Raptor Road. My husband and I have been there for 34 years. Most of our neighbors that are in the room today, we've all spent a lot of time up there. We've tried a couple different things. We've done a road association for a few years. We had Jeff's expertise that really helped drive some of the work that was done. Recently, with the traffic that has evolved with the expansion of the O'Reilly subdivision up there, we've seen that road deteriorate. I'm here to tell you I oppose what's being requested today. It's too expensive. We have a lot of families that are on fixed incomes or going to be in a fixed income, myself included. In 15 years, my kids will be moving into that home or trying to decide what to do with it. And this additional tax burden is too high. I know there are other options. I would request that you guys deny this and we find a different road forward if we can't be a part of this RID and make a difference in the community. Because from what I understood, that prioritization of the roads isn't going to change what we face today. We're just going to give more money to the county. Thank you.
Is there other public comment?
Yes,
You've already been up. Why don't I check and get everybody who hasn't been here first, and then I'll have you come back for second comments, okay?
Morning. Carl Olson, 815 Terrence Road. My family's lived on Terrence Road well, our kids were born and raised there. So 30, 35 years, something like that. Our kids grew up with their kids. As far as the road, I am totally against this because all it's going to do is increase taxes, and the taxes are not going to go away. The taxes will be there after I'm dead, probably. We've had that road probably, I think it was graded a couple of times in the last 30 years or whatever. We got together but the road being north and south and being on a slope, it has a tendency to drain fairly well. It does drain down the middle sometimes and create grooves and whatnot, but that road's been in that same condition probably for the last 30 years. And it serves its purpose perfectly. And there is a speed limit sign there. It says 25. The residents, I don't think, go 25. They probably do 15 or whatever. But I see no reason to improve this road because, number one, you improve it, and I don't care, a month after you're done with it, it's going to start getting washboard again. It's going to have holes in it again. And being taken care of a couple times a year just isn't going to do it. And it doesn't need to be done. As far as keeping the traffic down, if the road's in the condition that it's in, people don't drive as fast on it as a general rule. There are some people that just don't care. But as far as, I just don't think we need to do it for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's still going to be a dirt road. And so it's always going to have holes in it. It's always going to have washboard and whatnot. And the taxes is the big thing. I'm looking at this paper, and these taxes aren't going to go away. And they're not going to get less. It's going to be more and more and more. And I'm on a fixed income. I don't have extra money to be putting out on this. I'm retired, so I don't have the money. So I am constantly and totally against redoing this road. Thank you.
Anybody else who's not spoken yet? Okay. Yes.
My name is Doug Peterson again, and live on 840 Raptor Road. As somebody mentioned the dust, we do need to be concerned about particulates. We've already talked about that. We don't want the county health department, and has anybody done an assessment on what disturbing the earth might do to the mice population? We could have a antivirus outbreak. We don't want to worry about that. There's some serious problems out there. Might have to issue masks for everybody. But in all seriousness, I think it's pretty apparent. A lot of us signed that thinking it was going to be a lot less, because I could take the money that I am going to pay into that, and I could get some equipment and get some material and do it and not have to worry about it. I think we can do it better ourselves. No offense to the government, but I think is a huge overstep. It's like a giant pendulum. You can't go one way or the other. My gosh, there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And one of the things that people lose track of when you look at an area like that, there's things that you do as a community that benefit other people. You plant trees that you're never going to see the shade from. Okay, so in my taxes, I pay for roads that I'm never going to drive on. Just a fact. We have to do that because we live in a society, and people lose track of that. And sometimes when you live, we live a little further up. There's obviously people that are further up than us. And if I'm going to pay, if we're going to do something like this, I have to pay to help them too. I mean, it's just the way it works. But I think that we can do it better ourselves. Sorry for the sarcasm, but that's just the way I am. Thank you for your time, and I hope you consider not passing this. Thank you.
Any other people who'd like to talk that haven't spoken on this issue?
Thank you. Again, Roger Johnson from 835 Magnum. Really, this came up when Kevin, it's already been brought up. Kevin from Blue Mountain Builders built a place up there, put a horse arena, horse barns and all that. And he's running trailers up and down. I have grandkids, 2 sets of grandkids that live on Erickson and they live on Terrence. And they'll ride their bikes down Terrence Erickson and ride them up to our house. Since Kevin started running his horse trailers at the speeds he's running them at, we're nervous about our grandkids riding their bikes up and back. We've even told them that they have to stop. They have to look both ways or wait for us to come get them. There's times when he's coming up the road on Prairie, long before you ever see him, you can hear the trailers coming from our house up there on Magnum Road. I mean, that's 4 blocks away. I don't know how you put a horse trailer that fast on that road. I appreciate the potholes and that because it slows people down. On Erickson and Terrence are absolutely terrible. But in front of my other daughter's house on Erickson, I'm grateful for there because they ride their bikes to and from the driveway and out. You can't go more than 5 miles an hour down that road without tearing your car up. And that's the only thing slowing people down. I myself, even with the potholes, by the time I get down to kind of towards Terrence, if I'm not paying attention, because you're downhill, you speed up. It just happens. And then I catch myself and slow down. The folks who used to live across the street on O'Reilly used to stand outside and have to yell at people to slow down, and I was guilty of it too. If we improve that road, make it smooth, level, I don't know how fast they're going to be flying by. They come down there. I've been a career law enforcement officer in Lewis and Clark County. You can put up all the signs you want. People are going to fly down that road, and the sheriff's department is not going to come up there and do enforcement action up there. There's not enough traffic to do that. So I know that's not going to happen. The people that live up there, we police ourselves. We know that road. We know to drive slow. Everyone I know that I watch, all of our neighbors, we creep up that road, which is peaceful for me because I have grandkids riding bikes up and down that street. So thank you.
Is there any other public comment on this item? Is there any other public comment? Jessica, do you want to respond to some of the questions?
Sure, Chair Ralph. I'm happy to respond to some of these questions, and a lot of them I think are really great questions. So I think first, I think it's important to clarify the difference between what's maintained by the county and then also how our rural improvement districts are maintained. I heard a little bit of confusion come up with that. So when we talked about road prioritization and the roads that the county public works road division is going to maintain, those are those roads, those main corridors that people are using. When we create an RID, what we do there is work with contractors to provide, one, that initial improvement, and we'll get into some of those cost details and that soon. But we put together a bid that goes out to bid. We take that lowest bid for the work, and that improvement is done by a private contractor. That's the initial improvement. With the maintenance is also done by private contractors. So we have a couple of construction coordinators on staff that look at these roads. They determine what maintenance needs to be done, and that maintenance, the annual grading, the snow plowing as it's needed, is all done by private contractors. So you're not relying on the county road department. They're not going to be able to do that work. We've already established that they can't. Because those resources have to go elsewhere to those main corridors. So we rely on those private contractors to do those other services. As far as who will do this work, we go through, like I said, for that initial improvement, we would put that out to bid and go with our lowest bidder. For our annual maintenance, we have a process where we send out a request for qualifications to put together a pool of interested contractors that are able to add gravel or do that annual grading. We put them all together. They give us prices per foot based on those rural improvement districts that they wish to work on. And from there too, we try to find that lowest price to get that work completed. With snow plowing, we put together, again, a call for interested contractors. We put together a pool of contractors to plow snow in rural improvement districts. Within each rural improvement district, we try to work with a point of contact or that neighborhood on how much snow removal they want. In this Northern Valley area, I heard the comment that it doesn't snow that much, and it doesn't. We estimate an average amount of snow removal for the year, but we work with those neighborhoods to determine what that threshold is for service. So for a gravel road, I would say you'd want at least 3 inches before you're sending a contractor out there, if not more. And that is a determination that we work with those property owners to make. So do we want that at 4 inches? Do we want that at 5 inches? And it really is neighborhood dependent on what people are comfortable with. And that does have a little bit of flexibility there. Let's see. I want to talk, I think, first about, I want to get to everybody's questions here, but first I'm going to talk about the process for estimating, because that came up a lot. Cost came up a lot, and I completely understand that. So when we're approached by a citizen or a group of citizens to create an RID, what we do is we have one of our construction coordinators go out, measure the road, look at the condition of the road, determine generally what it needs. It needs drainage improvement, right? You need to improve that ditch network. Does it need some replacement culverts? In this instance, I think we have one on O'Reilly and Erickson. Looking at how much gravel it needs, just those general improvements that need to be done. We put that into an estimate. From there, we also look at what will it take to maintain that improvement over time. So in this case, we have annual grading. We have that magnesium chloride application, which I will say is an option. Magnesium chloride was included in this initial improvement and also for maintenance. That's something that's optional for people. We'll work with that neighborhood on whether or not they want that. So we put together that estimate and we put that into a petition document. A lot of people are saying, I'm hearing again and again, they thought it was only $300. That petition is created by the county. I have a copy of what was signed, and that states what the improvement assessment is and what that proposed maintenance assessment is. Both of those are included, and that signature block is alongside of that. That being said, when these petitions are created, the county has no concept of how long it will take to circulate, of whether or not that construction would be proposed in the next construction season or the following. There is a lot of contingency built into the cost estimate of these proposals. And the reason for that is you can give people a price and you can come in under that price, but we can't go over it. And not knowing how long it will take for that petition to circulate and exactly what will happen with our construction markets over the course of that time, we have to add contingency in there. So when Mr. Salisbury talked about the cost of this and how much more this cost seems to be for actual cost, he's right. That is estimated with a lot of contingency. For example, this was put together in December. This petition was put together in December. Look at what's happened with our fuel prices just in the last 5 months. We have no way to know exactly what that volatility will look like, but we do try to plan for it. To that point, the actual assessment costs, so right now we estimate with that improvement, it would cost people $320 per property per year to pay back that initial improvement. That portion of the assessment would not begin until the actual construction is complete. And the actual loan will be for what that actual construction is. So if that comes in less than what's proposed, which would be likely because we do have a lot of contingency built in, when we put that out to bid, let's say that bid comes under what we estimate, the actual loan is for the actual construction, and we would adjust that assessment to meet that. We would not take more money over that 15-year term. We would adjust that assessment to repay that loan for the actual cost. As far as the maintenance component, so what it costs per year to maintain that improvement, right now we estimate that's around $14,000 per year, $290 per property per year. With those assessments, that's again assuming a level of snow removal. That's assuming an annual grading. That's assuming that magnesium chloride application. Staff look at those budgets every single year and determine what our projected revenue is, what our projected expenditure is. If we see a cash balance growing in those accounts, we can lower those assessments. If we see that, we're not quite getting enough money to do that annual grading, grading costs have gone up, that's where we would potentially propose an assessment increase. That process includes an evening public meeting to discuss with property owners what maintenance level they want, if they want to lower that maintenance level a little bit to stick with their current assessment, or if they want to increase it. Any increase has to, again, go through the legal notice process and a public hearing process. So that can't be done automatically. As far as the boundary, I want to clarify that the only road we're looking at to improve and maintain here is O'Reilly. The boundary that you see before you was created through the assistance of a traffic analysis performed by a third-party traffic engineer to determine who is using O'Reilly now, generally. There is some question on Erickson and Terrence, who's going west to O'Reilly and down to Prairie, and who is taking Erickson and Terrence out. We did try to take into the consideration the current conditions of those roads, and you see, that boundary going to the east of O'Reilly a little bit. We do our best to objectively determine that by having that third-party analysis completed. County staff don't try to make that assessment on our own. Certainly, when you improve a road, that can change your traffic pattern. So I recognize that. As far as 3 properties paying an assessment, I know which 3 properties. I think it was Mr. Johnson was referring to. Those property owners have the option to aggregate those properties if they'd like, which would bring it down to 1 assessment. They also had the opportunity to protest for each of those 3 properties, and they did. So we did receive that. Each property gets that equal opportunity to protest for that particular property. But aggregation is an option to bring that down to one assessment. I heard a lot of comments on potential zoning issues. That's something that we can certainly look into with our planning department to see how this area is zoned and if there is some potential issue there. I can't answer that today, but certainly that's something that we could come back to determine if there is a zoning issue. I think with that, we talked about the difference between commercial properties or properties that are undeveloped being assessed the same amount. The Rural Improvement District program is guided purely by state statute. So we have a whole chapter of law that we have to follow when administering rural improvement districts, the creation, the management, the dissolution, the whole process. There are several assessment methods available to us when we consider how to assess these properties for proposed districts. In this case, we chose an equal assessment based on an equal assumption of benefit. I think one way to think about it is the road in front of your property, and so on. I understand that can be challenging when it feels like, well, one person is using the entire road, one person is only using part of it. Taxable value is another way that we can address differences in that capacity. So you can assess these districts based on taxable value. So if you had a commercial property, that would be valued higher, and those commercial properties would pay more. We run into this a lot with churches or other bigger areas, right? That are generating a lot more traffic, but are only paying in one time. We have to stick with those available assessment methods. There is no way to assess these districts statutorily based on use. We can't set up a toll, along there and, well, you use this much of it, you only use this much of it. We just don't have that assessment method available to us. So one of the ways we try to just make it as equitable as possible is to divide that equally. But that's certainly something that can be explored. Let's see, let me look at this a little bit more. Okay. Speeding comes up a lot. This comes up so often in all of our rural improvement districts, and speeding is tough. Signage would be included with this. It sounds like maybe some of the residents have said that it already is signed. We can make sure that it's signed appropriately so that it can be enforced. Unfortunately, speeders don't usually care about that sign. And I think Mr. Johnson summed it up well, right? Where you have ownership and you live in a certain area, that most of those people try to drive slow. I know that, as a mom, I get so frustrated with people speeding by my house as well. And I'm not above yelling at them. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so I do want to talk about the duration as well for these districts, because I think that came up as well. So again, we have that initial improvement. That assessment will be set to what that actual cost is. The maintenance is something that we review annually, every single year. Once a district has paid off that initial improvement loan, this special district staff will work with folks if they decide that they no longer want the rural improvement district, as long as there's not debt where we need that assessment to pay off that existing debt. Staff will work with property owners to dissolve a district just the same as we would to create a district. There's a statutory process for that as well, and we're certainly here to assist with that process. So, let's say if this district were to move forward, the road is improved, we maintain that improvement over time. And then let's say that loan is paid off and people are like, things have changed out here. We'd like to take on our own maintenance of this road. We can certainly assist with dissolution, just the same as we would assist with creation. Let's see. I did just want to clarify, Terrence and Erickson are not included in this. Neither are the Western components of Magnum, Raptor, Erickson, and Terrence. As we look at this map, the reason for that is we've determined that this boundary uses O'Reilly Drive. If we were to include Magnum Road or Raptor Road or those western portions of Erickson and Terrence, the people that live on O'Reilly are not using Raptor Road. The people, on Terrence are not using Erickson and vice versa. So we've drawn this boundary so that the people that are using O'Reilly, the people benefiting from O'Reilly are paying into O'Reilly. But the people that only use O'Reilly are not paying for work on other roads that they do not use. So that's where, we have the ability with a rural improvement district to tie that benefit with the cost. And so that's why this boundary has been proposed. And that's why we have what we have before us today. Let's see. I think that hopefully covers most of those themes that I heard. Is there anything, Mr. Chair, that you'd like me to cover in more detail?
I think that you've covered several items pretty well there. Who does the work? We've talked about the speed limit. We've talked about is it prorated and how that makes it difficult. Could it be prorated by use and commercial enterprises possibly pay more?
Mr. Chair, that would get to changing the proposed assessment method. Right now, we're proposing that that's equal per property. If we change that to taxable value, then you could capture that increase for a commercial property. It would mean that all of the other properties would pay differently. Even if they were single-family residential properties, you would be paying on your taxable value.
And the material that I got from you does have those petition signatures on a sheet that showed both assessments, both the 290, I believe it was, and the 3-something. So a total of over 600.
Mr. Chair, that's correct.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to kind of get just a thought. I see a lot of, I think I'm hearing people saying that most of you would like to have some kind of an improvement on the road, but feel like the dollars we're talking about are too high. Who that's here, if we might just ask, would want no improvement done at all? No, nothing. All right. Who would like it if it would like the improvement if it were done at a lower price? Probably. Okay. All right. Would you please just come forward and make that comment and give us your name? It just makes it so that we get it all on the record. I appreciate that.
I'm Patty Kircher, 885 Erickson Road. And we've been there for 20 years, but nobody's ever talked to us about getting together and paying for road improvements. Sorry. Mm-hmm. And when we bought the house, there was an HOA given to us. We have copies of microfiche, if anybody is old enough to remember that. Very hard to read. And there are statutes according to that of what you can do on the property and what you can't do. And you can't have a commercial business out there, first of all. You can have 2 horses per acre. And you can have a little tiny second house that is not
You can't have like multiple apartment buildings and things there. And I do know at one point they said there was somebody that did come and grade O'Reilly, and it was fine. But we're right on the corner of Erickson and O'Reilly, and people fly up and down that road. The dirt goes everywhere. I do go out and yell at people and tell them to stop, and I get flipped off a lot, but it's too fast. And people, again, they need to slow down and pay attention to what's going on, because there are a lot of people that walk. And the north part that's now all developed, that's where people used to walk. Trails were there. And so they'd walk up O'Reilly, walk through all those trails, and now that's all houses. So they have to walk on the road. But I do think that if we all get together and discuss this, we can come up with our own way to take care of the road. And that way we don't have to pay the county. I know Jessica did a lot of work and she talked to me and it was great. But even if we decide we don't want the annual maintenance, that 15-year loan has to be paid back.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's it.
It's your home. It's an important part of you. I fully understand that. If you'd like to make another comment, go ahead. Kind of going to the second round here.
Carl Olson, 815 Terrence Road. There were covenants out there many, many years ago, and the covenants expired and were not renewed. And so as far as I know, there are no covenants out there at this point.
Thank you.
So you talked, sorry again,
Give your
Roger
name
Johnson.
again. Yeah,
Roger
there you go.
Johnson from
Thank you.
835 Magnum. So real quick on snow removal, in my 27 years of being out there, snow removal on O'Reilly, in my opinion, is not going to be an issue. The snow doesn't really drift on O'Reilly and doesn't really need to be open. It's the east-west that get blocked. I have a picture there from back years ago when Magnum Road, and I know Erickson, it drifted completely shut. My neighbor went to work, got a front end loader, came, cleared the whole road, and that's like professionally done. My neighbor on Magnum Road in O'Reilly, Frank, lives all the way at the end of the road. Usually every snowstorm, he takes a side-by-side and he plows that whole road. That's really from Magnum north is the only place that usually O'Reilly's drift shut. Sometimes when O'Reilly does get open, I take before my wife goes, I take my 3/4 ton truck and I drive down the road and I bust a path open for her, and she's able to get to and from in her Chevy Traverse. Or we wait till Thursday on garbage day when the garbage truck opens it all up. Years ago, Jeff Salisbury on his own acquired a road grader, and he graded the road. He explained the pitch to the road and all that, which I didn't have anything about. And as you know, you're never going to get 100% agreement on everything. When Jeff did that, we were grateful because it didn't, he did it on his own. And I don't remember, did we? Yeah, I think we voluntarily paid $20 to $50. Yeah. But the problem is some people were upset with it. Like, he ruined the road. And like, well, no, that's what the guy does for a living. You got to pitch the road so it drains and all that. So you're never going to get 100% agreement. But I think through the years that I've been there, we've done a good job of like trying to at least maintain it and keep it serviceable. And we do help, our neighbors do. I've plowed out many people up there, and I know other neighbors have too. So even when Jeff did it, we walked it with other neighbors, just there's rock shards that stick up and all that. Because I know Frank on the end had a problem with flat tires when you drive up and down that road. So we try to go through and police that and get, the obvious stuff stuck out. So.
Hey, we asked you to come forward if you would. Again, give your name and then your comment.
Round number 2, Jeff Lusgraff, 910 Erickson Road. But I think probably the biggest complicator, the biggest factor in it is the amount of development that's gone on. And then, as I referred to earlier, I think there's there is a commercial enterprise running on the far north end, the far reaches of that road now. And it's not so much the car traffic up and down it. It's now that we are seeing a huge onslaught of huge horse trailers that are running up and down that road. I've seen semis go up and down that road because I'm right at the apex, the junction of O'Reilly, and I watch it all the time. And just like Kathy and others, I'm out there, yelling at people, getting flipped off all the time, but trying to slow people down. And there's a 25-mile-an-hour sign, but nobody listens to it. They just go there whatever speed they want. So I think best thing would be for the homeowners to get together and come up with some kind of a decision on what's best to do with this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Jessica, do you have other comments that you response? Oh, is there other? I'm sorry. First, is there somebody else like to make another comment?
Good morning. Good morning again. My name's Bruce Ryerson. I live at 840 Erickson Road, and I used to live out in Birdseye before I moved to this property. So I've been on a dirt road ever since I've lived in Montana. And I've done the homeowners association. I've tried to get the homeowners together. You get maybe 4 people. Other people are busy. Yeah, they can talk about it or come here once a year or once every 15 years, but you're not going to have a homeowners association get together over coffee and donuts and say, yeah, let's go spend $14,000 or whatever. I think the county should maintain that road. They leave the equipment right at the end of the pavement of Prairie and O'Reilly. When they're grading Prairie and then on down, their road equipment, they put the whatever the treatment is, they crown it. They leave the equipment right there. It wouldn't take them anything to make the turn and drop the plow and run up the road, So maybe it could be done cheaper, but it needs to be improved. The other thing is, I don't think it's been discussed is, and maybe it has been discussed, but we're doing it by home equity. How much is your property? Or there's probably another way to do the math. I don't know, but I'm for it, and thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to make a comment? Okay, Jessica, would you want to answer? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up. Again, state your name.
Jeff Salisbury. Having worked with the city for 18 years, everybody drives too fast in front of your house. Everybody. And I have done non-scientific studies with residents in Helena who talk about speed. And so I meet them in front of their property and I tell them, I will drive past you at 25 miles an hour and you tell me what you think the speed is. Every one of them will say it's too fast. It's faster than 25. 25 is a state-mandated residential speed limit other than posted for school zones. 25. Is it too fast? Could we be more courteous to our neighbors? Absolutely. Especially when there are others on the road. Consideration. We're not going to solve that here at this commission meeting. The other thing that I would like to say is procedure for the county. Having been a bureaucrat to some degree, you have to have some standards that you work from. I felt that the process was the cart before the horse. Whether it's, and this is just a recommendation, when somebody approaches with an RID, one should consider as a customer, what do you want, need, and are willing to pay for? That's the horse. What do you want, need, and are willing to pay for? We had no such meeting, and I don't think there's a part of the mechanism is available for that. I think we could have, as best as neighbors can get along, I think if we had had that opportunity, we could have shrunk things to what we feel is the scope that we could live with. And now it's, the cart is already in front of you. I don't know if there's mechanisms once, if this were approved, and once selection of contractors, scope of project, are the homeowners going to have input? Or is it all within the county mechanism? I'm a rule of the thumb guy. I am not an engineer. I maintain roads. The rule of thumb works as well as any engineering degree. And I feel that I would like to make sure that we keep some hold on that. That as residents, we do that. Solving the speed problem, once again, go figure. All of that open space, it's going to develop. And we either approach it proactively or reactively. Thank you.
Any other comments? Jessica?
Okay. Thank you, Chair Ralph, and to the additional commenters. I think Mr. Carlson summed up Ms. Kircher's covenants. We're talking about private covenants in that instance. What the county doesn't enforce private covenants, but what we do is zoning. And so I think that some of those questions that have been brought up versus commercial and what can be in that area certainly can be solved with looking into our zoning with our planning department. And certainly we can follow up in that capacity. As far as snow removal is concerned, Mr. Johnson's correct, right? We don't see a lot of snow removal in this area. Right adjacent to this area along Hillview Drive, Roma Road that you can see on your map, that is also a rural improvement district. Most likely, were we to ever have an RID on this area, we would probably get the same contractor that's working in Hillview to plow this one. And again, we would set that on a trigger point, that they're not going out there until a certain threshold of snow is received. So, it would only be plowed if it was necessary. Some RIDs also just elect to do their own plowing, and we cut that from our maintenance estimate. We don't work with a contractor to send anybody out there, and that RID just takes that on their own. And sometimes they're able to save money in that way as well. I do want to talk about that maintenance assessment, though. So we put that assessment estimate together based on a certain level of service. So an average of 3 snow plows per year, an average of 1 grading per year, 1 magnesium chloride application after that grading, maybe a sign replaced here or there as wind takes it out or what have you. That being said, the money that's collected as revenue from those assessments goes into one individual account. In this case, it would be the O'Reilly RID fund. Every single rural improvement district in this county has its own individual fund, and the revenue for those districts goes into that specific fund. Those funds can only be used for those specific RIDs for those services that are identified in the resolutions that create that district. That money also rolls over from year to year, and it gains interest, and that interest is also kept in that specific account. So I want to be very clear that any excess money that is not spent in one year is available for the next, And again, if that cash balance were to grow beyond what is needed for that annual maintenance, that's when we consider an assessment decrease, which, as you know, commissioners, we bring those to you on an annual basis when we can. Often we're dealing with the opposite, right? As inflation goes up, our costs go up. So, but I do want to be very clear that these are not intended to be savings accounts. They're not intended to grow a big slush of money. And there's no benefit in doing that. So those budgets are analyzed every year. All of that financial information is public information. It can be requested at any time. Not only can you see the revenue in, the expenditure out, we also keep every invoice associated with every RID and contracted work in an individual file for that RID. So if you see, $4,000 were spent in this RID on road maintenance, what was that spent on? Well, here, let me give you those exact invoices, and you can see exactly where that money went. So I do want to be clear that accounting process is very transparent, and it's available to anybody at any time. Going on to some of the comments about our process. No process is perfect, right? What we have with rural improvement districts is a chapter laid out in state law of how we can create these, administer them, and dissolve them. With that statute, the county commissioners are able to initiate creation of rural improvement districts wherever they see the need for the public benefit and convenience. In Lewis and Clark County, we go a little bit further than that, and we require, by policy only, not law, a petition be signed by a certain threshold of people to show the public interest before we ever initiate this process. That policy today states that we have to have at least 20% support to even consider a creation process. Is that perfect? Maybe not, but it's something at least beyond what's required by state law to at least show that there's some initial support before the commission considers these as a creation. As far as homeowners dictating, what they're willing to pay or how these RIDs are created, this can be a challenge. Not every RID has a former, operator living there that knows roads well. We don't all have a Mr. Salisbury out there that can assist. And often what we find is, a scenario where people say, well, I'm willing to spend $200 a year. What can you do for $200? And if you look at it that way, it can be challenging because often we're not able to get the improvement that certain people think will come from that money. I think when we talk about road improvements and what it costs to improve and maintain roadways, it's often more expensive than certainly I would have ever imagined prior to joining, this team in this position. We really, because of that, have to go with, let's improve this road to a standard that can be maintained over the long term. Improve this road so that it will last for the life of this loan. So at least while you're paying off that initial improvement, you're not needing to take on another improvement. And so we have construction specialists, employed by Public Works that look at it with that lens. This is what it needs, and this is what it needs to hold up over time with this level of maintenance. And we do our best to estimate that. That being said, that process isn't perfect. And I talked about that contingency that's needed to make sure that we hit those numbers. The worst case scenario, right, is when you put together an estimate, that RID is created, and then you go to bid the work and you don't have enough money. We saw this when we had some districts created over COVID, when we saw costs just jump up over seemingly overnight. It was over several months, but those initial estimates were way off. So we put that contingency in there to plan for the unexpected. That being said, the actual cost to homeowners is only for the actual construction. We do try to do our best to work with property owners in every RID to some capacity. I think Mr. Johnson summed it up really well, where, most people are really happy with the work that gets done on the ground and other people are furious, right? You've destroyed this road. This work is terrible. What a mess. And we certainly see that throughout our rural improvement districts in the county now. And I certainly appreciate that comment. It's hard to make everybody happy. That's certainly the case. I think I'll leave it there unless there's anything else I can cover.
I've got a couple of questions for you, Jessica. After reading the material, I went out and drove O'Reilly Road last night, and wanted to kind of get a better feel before this came before us. And I had a question: what would be the ramifications of, say, doing O'Reilly Road just up to like Magnum Road, rather than taking it? That'd be knocking off maybe a third of the road of the work if you're taking it clear up to the end of O'Reilly.
Mr. Chair, certainly that would be a different proposal, and that's something that I think property owners could determine if they'd want to retry this effort in the RID mechanism in the future. We could certainly run those numbers and adjust that. Sometimes when you propose something like that doesn't include the full road, what potentially can happen is those folks above the cutoff for the maintenance may, while they would certainly benefit because they use the southern section of it, they may not be supportive. Again, that's independent for every neighborhood on what will work and what will not.
Okay. What would be the process if we were to just put a hold on right now and say, let's go back to the drawing board?
Mr. Chair, if the resolution was not approved today, or what could happen would be that residents could decide that they wanted to kind of rework some of this. Maybe they don't want magnesium chloride. Maybe they want to do snow removal on their own, et cetera. If they wanted to modify that, a group of property owners could certainly work with staff to consider a different type of RID proposal. Again, that would go through the petition process, go through that resolution of intention, go through the, potentially that final step of creation if those steps were successful in the future. Does that answer your question okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we could just say, let's go back to the drawing board if we wanted to.
Mr. Chair, certainly. Certainly, it's a commission decision today whether or not to approve this resolution. And certainly, it's within property owners' rights to continue to explore road maintenance in the way they choose. The RID is one option, and certainly we can assist with other sorry, I'm losing my train of thought there. Other options within that RID, if they so chose, and we would again work with our construction estimators to figure out what those options would be and rerun those estimates moving forward.
All right. Thank you. I think we've kind of covered the waterfront on this. Do you have a thought on how you want to go forward?
My thought is, I think I better talk to these gentlemen over here because I'm not sure if the motion should be done in a positive. They've gotten after me. I've been yelled at for misstating. If it should be, if I make my motion is to approve the resolution, that is a positive, and then we would have to vote no. Or can I do a direct so that it is, I move we not approve resolution. And then we could vote yay, which is the clearest, that is least likely to get me in trouble. You know how sensitive I am.
That's the hot seat now, Commissioner. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, so the board's process is always making a motion in the affirmative.
Okay.
So that's what I would state for consistency purposes. A lot of times we'll see the board say, I'm making the motion to approve just for the purposes of discussion or something to that effect. So Mr. or Chair Rolfe, you talked about going back to the drawing board. So at this juncture, going back to the drawing board is denying the resolution. So essentially, right, your motion would be in the affirmative, say I move to approve. And you guys would have discussion, but then no one would vote for the approval. You would both vote against that. So that would be the consistent way in which the board has operated in the past.
And the reason I did that, I didn't want those people out there throwing rocks at me when I said we're going to have a motion to approve, because some of those people have rocks and they would throw them. So, okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Payne, so a lot of times the board will say, just for the purposes of moving this along, I'm not going to be ultimately in favor of this, but I'm making it to move through our process. So something like that, if you wanted to give a little heads up about where you're headed in that direction, I've seen that done in the past.
All right. I also have, when we get to the part where you say, is there any further discussion? So, and I know I did that earlier in preemptive fashion that I shouldn't have. So I'm going to wait. I do have another comment.
All right.
These people haven't even thought of. So,
okay. All right. Do we have a motion?
I move that we, for discussion purposes, that we approve resolution 2026-34 to create the O'Reilly Drive Rural Improvement District number 2026-2 as presented by Jessica Makis. We need a second.
For discussion purposes, I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Something else that has, and I was thinking about this long before you folks all showed up. We are in an uncertain property tax situation right now. We know that the laws that the legislature passed are going to kick in on this year's property taxes. I don't have any idea what it's going to do to mine. I doubt if they're going to go down. And when I think of my own situation, I'm speaking for other property owners out there. I don't think you know either. With this kind of uncertainty, I would not be happy to have a decision made that would absolutely further burden my property with more taxes to get the road fixed up. I'm also aware, and many of you have mentioned the speeding problem. And if you fix up that road and it doesn't have the potholes, the next thing you want to do is come in here and say, we need to put some speed bumps in that pretty road. And that lady over there says, nope, we can't do that. And, that's her department. So we let her, she knows. If the people who are impacted by the condition of that road decide they want to do something, okay. We probably have enough people in this room. You could start it'd be a homeowners association or something on that nature, so that you could get together and bring a proposal, and Jessica will work with you and help you to make sure that it's legal and workable. So this is important to you folks. You get control of it. I mean, you can't just, well, it's not, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm riding this escalator and the escalator stops. Oh, somebody help me. That doesn't work. Come on, you got to take advantage of the opportunities to fix things yourself. Okay, one other thing. A gentleman made a comment about Well, some made comments about the lots at the north end of O'Reilly Road, which are, and I think he said that those 3 lots were all under the same ownership. And then other people said that the people who are owning that property have some kind of a horse related business. So there are horse trailers going up and down that road. So, I mean, that you balance, oh, it's not fair that they have to pay for 3 times what a homeowner down the road would. But on the other hand, they're using it way more frequently and with a heavier equipment. So I would be very hesitant when you work on putting together a homeowners association, you include those folks, because otherwise they're going to, they'll not be happy. And you're not going to make everybody happy out there, but you do the best you can. Your neighbors. There endeth my comment.
All right, we have a motion to approve the resolution for the O'Reilly Drive. All those in favor of that resolution say aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
And now we need to make them. That's it.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, nope. So the resolution failed. So kind of, Mr. Chair, back to your point about going back to the drawing board. If the folks out in this area want to look at doing a different way or use, I guess, look at different improvements, that's something that they can certainly do under the county policy to come back through the RID process. But the resolution failed, so it's kind of done and done at this point.
That's done. Okay. So the resolution has failed. No, we need to go forward with our.
We've got an agenda. Oh.
Okay.
Sorry about that. No, that's. Thank you.
All right. We're going to go on to our next item on the agenda. Resolution 2026-35 to amend the Maynard Subdivision Rural Improvement District.
Thank you, Jenny. Whoa.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne. Again, my name is Jessica Mika, Special Districts Program Coordinator. Today is the public hearing regarding Resolution 2026-35 to amend the Maynard Subdivision Rural Improvement District to amend the boundary and maintain Maynard Road. The proposed district is located off McHugh Drive between Forestvale Road and Sierra Road. You can see this on your map here before you. Sorry for that delay to get that computer back up. The resolution of intention to amend the Maynard Subdivision RID was passed by the Commission on March 26, 2026, after receiving a petition signed by 52% of property owners within the proposed district boundary. There are 19 properties included. The Maynard Subdivision was created in 2005 to fund improvements and maintenance on Maynard Road. The amendment would effectively recreate the maintenance district and proposes to include an additional benefiting property to the east of the original boundary, which now uses Maynard Road for access. Right now, we're looking at the original boundary, and I'm going to show you the additional property that would be included. And I believe you have the updated map in your packet. Okay, so you can see this additional property using Maynard Road is proposed to be included in this boundary change moving forward. Maintenance costs would be equally shared by all benefiting properties, and it is estimated that the cost for annual maintenance will go down slightly with the incorporation of an additional property. Maintenance activities funded by the proposed district include snow plowing and sanding, sweeping, surface treatment, including pothole patching, crack sealing, and chip sealing, and other items as needed to preserve the road improvements. Funding of annual maintenance is estimated to total $3,610, and each benefiting property is proposed to be levied an ongoing maintenance assessment of $190 per year. Currently, that assessment is $200 per property per year with the 18 properties in the original district. Upon passage of the resolution of intention to amend the district on March 26th, notice of the intention to amend the district in today's public hearing was mailed to each benefiting property owner, and a 30-day comment and protest period was open to the public. Legal notice was also published in the Helena Independent Record on April 4th and April 11th, 2026. The comment and protest period closed on May 6th. No protest was received, therefore there is not sufficient protest to bar proceedings today. If the Maynard subdivision RID is amended, it is anticipated that a resolution to levy and assess the RID will be brought before the commission this summer and be placed on the 2026 tax bill with the first half due in November 2026. Staff recommend approval of Resolution 2026-35 to amend the Maynard Subdivision Rural Improvement District, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the Maynard subdivision has existed for quite a while, right? And this other lot that is now being, the blue part, was that a part of another subdivision, or how did that come to be and now it wants to be included? Could you?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, I believe that originally they accessed that property from, I think you could see, I think it's Bennett Drive or one of the other, the roads adjacent. So Maynard Road was not used to access this property in the past. A different roadway was used. In the last few years, I believe this property has gone through some conditional use permitting to change the use of the property. And they added the approach that you can see on your map from Maynard Drive, or Maynard Road, excuse me, that did not exist in the past when this district was created in 2005. This is a more recent development. But as they do use Maynard Road now, it is the property owners that are paying into Maynard Road have passed around a petition to include this additional property as a benefiting property. And when we do that, we effectively have to recreate that district and offer that opportunity to protest and be transparent about what those assessments are used for.
Go
ahead.
Do the owners of that additional lot, are they objecting, or have they said anything?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, no. My understanding is they are aware of the Rural Improvement District, and they, I believe, during the process for the conditional use permit, they acknowledged that they would need to join this Rural Improvement District moving forward.
What is the conditional use?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, I'm not aware, but I believe Director Chambers could speak a little bit to that as far as what was done with the planning department and conditional use.
And I guess I'm thinking about, will this be more of a commercial use than, I mean, it's residential, everybody else. And what I can see on the map looks like it might be more of a commercial use, which will also maybe include the horse trailers that our last discussion talked about, and a lot more use of that road. Jenny, could you?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Payne, For the record, my name is Jenny Chambers, the Clark County Public Works and Planning Department Director. Yes, within the last year, the Board of Adjustments through the Part 2 zoning requirements, the property owner has applied and got approved for a conditional use permit on this property. It meets the requirements of the conditional use permit. It's allowed use with that approval of that permit. And he has developed this it's a commercial operation, but it's not horse trailers or agricultural. I believe it's just light construction. He's an construction worker and he has some heavy equipment that's kind of used at this property as far as contractor storage area and some contractors. So there will be some increased traffic on Maynard Road from equipment that he might be hauling to his property for storage, then to go to a job site. And that is why it was raised during the CUP process and the public comment. And the landowner did agree that he would be more than willing to participate in the rural improvement district to help maintain the road within the Maynard RID.
Thank you. That gets rid of my concerns.
Any other questions?
No.
All right. Do we have any public comment on this item? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2026-35 to amend the Maynard Subdivision Rural Improvement District number 2005-1 as presented by Jessica Makis.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2026-35 to amend Maynard Subdivision Rural Improvement District number 2005-1, as explained by Jessica Makis, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 2-0. We have arrived at the end of our regular action items and scheduled meeting items, and we always leave an opportunity for public comment at the end on any item that is under the purview of our commission, but not on today's agenda. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we're adjourned.